for joining. So before we move forward, there is something I wanted to point out because this is basically everything we'll be doing. This defense across attack chain. I wanted to point out a few things there. Now Microsoft provides an end-to-end integrated visibility for the variety of attack techniques, right? Seen in both external attack and insider risks. And for external threats, we are talking about um, attackers are being flexible and they can use a variety of attack techniques during an attack chain sequence to reach their ultimate objective, mostly by commonly stealing data or but ransomware or other extension attacks are becoming more common, right? So what they do before now is to steal data, but now you have the ransomware out there, then the extension attack, and the Microsoft offers a suite of extended detection and response capabilities, as I said yesterday, that provide coverage across these common attack chains. And these XDR capabilities provide what called advanced threat detection with a focus on high quality alerts with a low rate of false alarm, aka what we known as false positive, as well as automated investigation and response capabilities. And these tools are actually designed to work together. So the way Microsoft made it, they designed them to basically work together. For example, the Defender for Office 365, which is the first one here. Defender for Office 365. It provides protections for emails, SharePoint, OneDrive, Microsoft Teams, and other Office 365 capabilities. Why the detection for endpoints, what it does is that it provides an endpoint detection and response EDR capability covering productivity workstations um, like servers, mobile devices, and more. Then just below that, Defender for endpoints is a Defender for cloud applications. Yeah, the Defender for cloud applications provides additional capability for server virtual machines and the coverage of SQL servers, containers, and more. Then, if you look further, talking about Defender for IoT here, for IoT devices, basically, the Defender for IoT is provide coverage for assets discovery, then trend management for IoT devices, and for attack on operational technology, which is OT, operational technology, right? And those resources and which can result in destruction of physical processes like a station whereby factory productions are using these IoT devices, or even power generation organizations, the power plants, then even some medical devices, their functionality is dependent on IoT, basically. Now, for this suite of products, the next one is talking about the Azure AD protection and the Microsoft Defender for identity. Now, for the Azure AD protection, it collectively covers the identity stages of attacks, providing detection of threats for cloud-based Azure Active Directory, which is now called the Microsoft Entra ID, and for on-premises based Azure infrastructure rather, like the identity infrastructure based on either using the Windows server's Active Directory, or you're using the Active Directory Federation Services, commonly known as the ADFX, in which we have organizations like sister companies using federated identity. Now, also, if you look at the Defender for cloud applications here, which it provide coverage for software as a service, apps from both an attack detection and also a data exploration perspective. Then the security informations and event management and the security orchestration, automation and response, well, which is actually talking about the Microsoft Sentinel down here, which provide a unified visibility. The tools basically has a well event logs and alerts from other security tools, then even from other line of business applications, network devices and more. So working together, it's the integration actually is an illustration of how the these tools work together to keep an organization, secure, and it reduces the amount of repetitive tasks for analysts. The repetitive tasks like attack, users check their personal webmail from their corporate device and they open an attachment with a malware that is designed to evade a traditional, AV signature. So looking at some organizations are so smart that you cannot open your personal email. In fact, if you go to gmail.com, outlook.com, they won't open. I remember working with a Microsoft partner, and our system that has been assigned, anything personal you cannot open there. If you need to open anything personal, even third-party URLs, any URL that is not Microsoft URL, maybe Microsoft Lane or Microsoft documentation, you cannot open on that system. But it's a situation whereby people are allowed to open, their personal email, and those personal email, maybe an attacker has been trying to compromise the network, and just okay, let me even try to send email to this user's personal account, right? And users now open it, now saw a URL or an attachment, then click on that attachment, not knowing that the attachment is actually a malware. Automatically, it has affected the system. And in terms of detection, the Microsoft Defender for endpoints detects these abnormal behaviors and automatically investigates it by creating an automated sequence to remediate this threat and prompts an analyst to approve the cleanup, which can also be auto approved. Then in terms of intelligence sharing that we mentioned, the Microsoft Defender for endpoints provide informations on this new malware. So the Microsoft Threat Intelligence System that we spoke about yesterday, triggering other Microsoft security capabilities. So because MD was also affected, it's going to trigger every other one, Defender for Office 365, Defender for cloud applications, Defender for identities, etc. And this basically searches for similar malware across customers and needs to clean it up from their mailboxes, from their devices, from their cloud services and more. So the system become more intelligent. So they're able to help Microsoft customers globally. Then in terms of damage containment, until the analysts approve the remediation, the Azure AD conditional access block access to the enterprise application from those devices. So until the Microsoft Defender for endpoints communicates with the all clear signal from this device, until then, the Azure AD, which is a Microsoft Entra ID, will now restore the user access, basically. Then for additional remediation, basically, Microsoft Sentinel workflows are also triggered to modify either the Palo Alto firewalls to block the IP addresses of the attackers, command and also control servers. So where the attackers IP address is coming from, the Microsoft Sentinel, helps to basically take care of that. And organization also face insider risk management, right? Where a trusted insider with access to sensitive resources may choose to abuse that access for a variety of reasons. And some of the reasons could be things like maybe they are disgruntled or they are not happy. They just want to, sabotage the environment. So with the help of Microsoft Insider Risk Management, now in Microsoft 365, it helps to minimize internal risks by enabling you to detect, to investigate, and act on malicious and inadvertent activities in your organizations. So all these suits, they work together. So sometimes some organization, like today now, I can tell you, my organization, we don't have Defender for Office 365. In place of Defender for Office 365, we use a third party tool called Trend Micro for that. We don't use Defender for Endpoint. In place of Defender for Endpoint, we use another third party tool. But Microsoft makes everything easier. They are integrated together in such a way that it makes the management and also responses to all those attacks. They are very easy to manage, and they are very easy to detect, and you can easily respond to them. All right, so I just wanted to highlight that before we start today's work. So do you have any question based on that? Do you have any questions? All right, so we'll be moving into um the next topic, which is still under the subtopic, talking about we want to explore what we call the Microsoft Security Graph. Now, what is Microsoft Graph itself? Have you heard Microsoft Graph before?
Yes, but I haven't really touched on it yet, but I've heard about it.
Okay, all right. It's actually a very beautiful tool. So Microsoft Graph provides a unified programmability model that you can use to access the data in Microsoft 365 in Windows, in an enterprise mobility and security. So when you talk about the data in M365, you're talking about everything M365. It could be your SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, when you talk about your Windows 10, your Windows 11, when you talk about enterprise mobility and security, that is talking about the Microsoft Intune itself. So you can use the data in the Microsoft Graph to build customized applications for your organization. Now, the Microsoft Graph actually offers the API itself, the Microsoft Graph APIs. It offers a single endpoint. And what is that single endpoint? If you go to graph.microsoft.com, you can use either the REST API or the SDKs to access the endpoint and build apps that support any Microsoft 365 scenarios. Now, I remember this week, one of the developers and the software and the DevOps engineer reached out that they're trying to build an apps. So the scenario is that they want the apps to be able to integrate with the SharePoint. Once the app integrates with SharePoint, is able to pull in data, without human interference. Now, because the Microsoft Graph is actually what is working behind the scene. Now, if you let me go to a browser real quick and go to graph.microsoft.com. So this will actually, take you into, it will redirect you to developer.microsoft.com. So this Microsoft Graph is actually like an unified API for modern works. So modern works means and everything that has to do from your SharePoint, from your Teams, from your OneDrive. You are able to use, your organization data, to build apps that are tailored to your organization, basically. So most of these developers, they tend to leverage on this Microsoft Graph API, to build stuffs majorly. So now, like I said, you can use it to you can use the REST APIs or the SDK to access the endpoint, and there you can build apps that support different Microsoft 365 scenarios. And Microsoft Graph also includes a powerful set of services that manage user and device identity, access, compliance, and security. And the purpose is to help protect organization from data leakage and loss. So this guy is actually very powerful, the Microsoft Graph itself. So that's why it's actually very important that we protect the Microsoft Graph itself, because that is where all your organization data are sitting. I've worked with a particular organization, and they are like, we're not using SharePoint. We want all our data to stay on-prem. You need to enter their data center. They were buying storage upon storage upon storage. Why? Because they are afraid that if they start pulling in their data because of the compliance anyway, the NNPCs and oil and gas organization, because of the compliance with NNPC and some of these oil and gas regulators, right? So they are so being careful. But if they understand that there's what we call Microsoft Security Graph API that is actually helping, to protect this data, the data is their data is actually, very secure, because they are very conscious of data leakage or data loss, because anytime the regulations can come and say, okay, we need this data, and they should be able to provide the data real life. So what is actually in Microsoft Graph? Now, Microsoft Graph exposes the REST APIs and the client libraries to access data in some of Microsoft Cloud services. An example I mentioned in Microsoft 365 core services, such as maybe organization is using the Microsoft Bookings, the Calendar, the Delve, the Excel, the Microsoft Preview, eDiscovery, even the Microsoft Search, OneDrive, OneNote, talk about Outlook, emails, talk about people in Outlook contacts, talk about Planner, SharePoint, talk about To Do, Viva Insight, and all. So any of those Microsoft 365 core services is part of the Microsoft Graph. Then also, if you talk about enterprise mobility and security services to things around advanced threat analytics, advanced threat protections, Microsoft Entra ID, Identity Manager, and Intune. So Microsoft Graph is also leveraging on those services too in enterprise mobility as well as in security. Then if you look at services under Windows, that is also another area. Windows services, like things around activities happening on your window as you use your device, devices themselves, then different notification on your Windows 10 or Windows 11 area. If you go to the bottom right, you'll be able to click on an icon that will show you some notifications, right? Then Microsoft is also introducing what we call a universal print. Universal print is like a solution that helps you to print without, from your device. You just connect to a printer, and once you deploy the solution, it's very easy for you. And those things are also links to the Microsoft Graph itself. Then another service which is common again is a Dynamics 365 Business Central Services. Now, the Dynamics 365 Business Central Services is one of the Dynamics 365 ERP tools. ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning. Now, with the Dynamics 365 Business Central, you're able to organize different modules, talking about HR, finance, so different operations in your organizations. That Dynamics 365 Business Central is like a central data tool for Dynamics 365 ERP that helps, aggregate data from different modules in Dynamics 365. Now, the Microsoft Graph Security API now is an intermediary service or a broker that provide a single programmatic interface to connect multiple Microsoft Graph security providers. also called security providers, or we can call them providers. So basically, your requests to the Microsoft Graph Security API are federated to all applicable security provider, and the results are aggregates. They are aggregated and they return to the requesting application in a common data schema, which is shown in this diagram below. So for Microsoft Graph security providers are either coming from the Microsoft 365 side of things, coming from the Microsoft 365 side of things here, coming from the Azure side of things. Then we have the partner portal too. So in case the organization is being managed by the portal, so it aggregates all those informations, which we call them security providers, and it's aggregated into the Microsoft Graph Security APIs here. And the security APIs are speaking directly to your applications. The application could be your cloud applications, it could be your mobile application, it could also be a web application, basically. And the developers, most times, they can use the security graph to build intelligent security services that integrate and correlate security alerts from multiple sources. So with this Microsoft Secure Graph, the developers using it, they can build, they can integrate, and they can also correlate security alerts from multiple sources. They can also stream alerts to security information and event management. That's the SIEM solution. Example, the Microsoft Sentinel. So they can stream alerts to that solution itself. They can also automatically send threat indicators to Microsoft security solutions to enable alerts and block or allow actions. That's another thing that developers can use the security graph for. They can also use it to unlock or contextual data to inform investigations, and also they can discover opportunity to learn from data, and they can use that to train your security solutions. Then lastly, they can also automate what we call SecOps. SecOps is a combination of the security and operations for a greater efficiency. So when the security teams are working with the operations team, with the help of the Microsoft Security Graph, they can use that as well to basically increase the productivity and provide a greater efficiency. Now, you can use the Graph API. There are actually two versions for the Graph APIs. We have the Microsoft Graph REST API version 1.0 and the Microsoft Graph REST API beta. Now, the beta version, what it does is that it provides a new and enhanced API that are still in preview status. And the APIs in preview status are subject to change, and they may actually break an existing scenario without notice. That's for the beta. Then for a security operation analyst, both the Microsoft Graph API versions supports what we call advanced threat hunting, which you're going to use using the run hunting query method. And this method may include queries in your custom query language. Begin to look at the run hunting method, basically, for that. Okay, so for the Graph Explorer, let me open a URL for the Graph Explorer. 1 second. So this is actually how the Graph Explorer looks like. You can run queries. Most times this will be in a post, right? Then if you check the version. So before I can use this method, I'll need to sign in basically. So I'm waiting for it to ask me to sign in. it automatically signs me in. Okay. Oh, I'm set to check this box for the index. All right. So if you click here, you see the two versions. You see the um version 1.0 and the beta version. Now for the post, I'm going to copy this for you in the chart. Let me change this to graph.microsoft.com. I'm not sure this query is going to work, but let me try it. Let me select the beta. No resources is found. Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to on because I've not done the proper connections. All right, so we'll actually get to look at this. I want to just show you how the graph explorer actually looks like, what you can do with them. So you can see for applications here. So depending on what you want to do. So these are majorly what developers can use to so you see a lot of applications talk about the Outlook main, the Outlook calendar, when you have some security stuff here that you can select. So different stuffs here that you can actually look at even on SharePoint. So for the security that has 47, you see the patch. So each of this actually has what they do based on what they want to actually basically achieve. All right. So this just said that there's something called Graph Explorer that actually exists. Let me drop the URL for you in the chat so you can also explore it. All right. So we can basically look at some so this is something that you can easily, we call them a guided lab environment. It's basically a guided lab environment. So it's something you can actually look at yourself, but it's actually a bit old because it's speaking to the Microsoft Azure Sentinel rather. Let me see. So it tells you that it's a unified experience to automate threat investigation. It helps closes critical gaps and empower rapid response. If you go next, so this is going to navigate this interactive guide, follow the prompts in the screen and use your back or forward arrow. So this is talking about Azure Sentinel. I'm sure Azure Sentinel has actually been retired, but let me confirm that. Why that is loading. So for this, you go next, it tells you click on incidents. You click on incidents, right? You're able to see potential malware uploaded in a storage block. So if you click on investigate this, so it opens this. Let me go back to just saying it now. Other essential adjustments in there. So I'm not sure it's there. There's the marketplace for it. Let me see. It's not opening, so I know. So that's been renamed to Microsoft Workspace. But anyway, so the interactive lab is something that you can just go through to see some possibilities, but it's actually old. It gives you you can check your Azure resource, you can check for files, you can check the malware. So it tells you what the malware is, not to take actions, storage account policy should be disallowed. You click on these, then check the remediation steps, perform a quick fix logic. So this brings you to here, then you can close here. Up to fix resource one. So this will fix for you. And once it's fixed, so it's just like a guided something you can just walk through, right? I've shared a link with you in the chat.
Yes. Is it free
Yeah.
lab?
Yeah, it's a free lab. Yeah, it's a free lab. I've shared the URL with you. It's a free lab.
Okay.
Yeah. So what it does basically, the guided demonstration, it shows you how you can detect and respond to modern attack with unified SIEMs and XDR capabilities. So if you go through that, you'll be able to do this. So the scenario is very simple. So as a security operation analyst working at a company that is implementing a Microsoft 365 Defender solution. So you need to actually understand how extended detection and response combine signals from endpoints, from identity, from emails, and also applications to detect and mitigate threats. So the recorded demo is just to give you a sense of how the Microsoft 365 Defender works, basically. So that should take you about 12 minutes for you to complete. So you can just go through it, and if you have questions as regards it, but it's actually an old guided demonstrations, basically. All right. So let's talk about managing incidents using the Microsoft 365 Defender. Now with Microsoft 365 Defender, you are able to manage incidents, with it. And managing the incidents can basically help us to have an holistic overview of what the Microsoft Defender XDR is all about. So for this, after completing this module, we'll be able to manage incidents in Microsoft 365 Defender. We'll be able to investigate incidents in Microsoft 365 Defender. Be able to work with automatic attack destruction. Then we'll be able to describe advanced hunting capabilities with Microsoft 365 Defender. So Microsoft 365 Defender itself uses if you go in, we're going to go into the portal, will be able to see all this basically. So the Microsoft Defender XDR rather is a unified, as you know, pre and post breach enterprise defense suite. So it's a pre and also post. So before an attack happened and also after an attack happened. So it's an both pre and post breach enterprise defense suite that natively coordinates detection, prevention, investigation, and response across endpoints, across identities, across emails and applications to provide integrated protection against sophisticated attacks. So with the integrated Microsoft Defender XDR solution, security professionals can coordinate the threat signals that each of these products receive and determine the full scope and the impact of the threat and how the threat entered the environment also what the threat is currently affecting, and how it is currently impacting the organization. So you as a security operation analyst is working at a company that implements the Microsoft XDR solution, which include the Defender for endpoints, the Defender for identity, Microsoft 365 Defender for cloud applications. You basically need to see related alerts, and also across all the solution as one incident, and to see the alerts full impacts. And also you do like a kind of a root cause investigation. And the Defender portal itself is actually a unified view for the incidents and also for the actions that you've taken so far. Now, managing incidents with Defender suite itself, you can actually use it to manage incidents. Before we talk about incidents, basically, the Microsoft Defender portal, which we'll go into by navigating to security.microsoft.com, is actually a specialized workspace designed to meet the needs of security teams. Um, and this solution actually integrates across Microsoft 365 services, and it provides an actionable insights to help reduce and safeguard your digital assets. Now, if you go to the portal, once you type in security.microsoft.com, right, it will bring you into this Microsoft Defender portal, basically. And now with the Defender portal, you'll be able to see things, call them blades, like we went through yesterday, exposure management, and talk about investigation and response. We talk about threat intelligence, assets. So you can actually investigate alerts, right, that affect your network, and you can also understand what they mean, and you're able to collect evidence associated with the incidents, so that you can actually devise an effective remediation plan. Now, the home page itself shows many of the common cards. What do you call by what do you mean by cards? So you can see cards. These are cards. This one, this thing that you can pick like this and move to call them cards, right? So you have the card that talks about the secure score. The reason why this is very important is because at a glance, you'll be able to see your your security posture in the organization. And why is that important? By default, for me, I like to be in an organization that the secure score should be nothing less than 99%. And the 1% should be maybe we are using a third party, third party applications, for securing that particular devices. And any cards that you see here basically is based on the there's what called role-based access control, your role in the organization. This account that is currently signing here, this my account, is actually the global admin account. What does that mean? Is a super admin for the organization that can actually do everything. So because of that account, I'm able to see everything, and I can even configure and add. Like I can see things on secure score. I can see things on SOC optimization. SOC optimization is something that Microsoft just recently added. So this is it. It was just recently added here. Then I'll be able to see things under device compliance. Why am I able to see things under device compliance? Because as a global admin, I also have access to the Microsoft Intune portal. So the device compliance, which is coming from the Intune portal, is also showing for me. It's also showing for me in the Defender suite of products. Let me just sign in again. Let me go back. Then also, I'm able to see any Microsoft Sentinel automations. So if automations has been done in Microsoft Sentinel, so I told you again, it's because of the role. So one thing that's very important in security operation is a role-based access control. And it's all called the principle of least privileged access. Least privileged access is actually giving users or admin the roles that they require to do the maximum, let's say, role that they require to do their work. Maybe the person is just a security administrator in the organization. Such a person, you don't need to give the person a global administration. You just give the person a security admin role, and the person will be able to perform his or her function. It is only an admin that needs to do everything on the tenant, like the enterprise system engineer for the organization, for example, or the super admin that need to do things on SharePoint, OneDrive, across. So instead of assigning each of those roles one after the other, you just assign those users those particular role. Then there's this stuff called attack simulation training. So this attack simulation training is like something that Microsoft has created. This is EDA, under emails and collaboration. It's something that Microsoft have actually created, right, to help train users in the organization. It's like you are creating an attack internally, but it's like simulation to know how many users will fall for the attack. Maybe an attack on credential harvest, for example. Now, you want to know how many users will click on those links, or how many users will click on the phishing link that you've already configured. We'll be able to we'll look at this in more details. So those cards, depending on the role of the user, will determine what the user is going to see. And you can also drag and drop depending on what is important to you as administrator. Maybe you want to see what is happening in Action Center. You can just carry the Action Center, and drag it up that, oh, I like to see what is happening in Action Center. Then you move it up here. So based on the things so that at a glance, the moment you sign into the Microsoft Defender portal, you're able to see the things that are important to you as the administrator. So the composition of cards and the data is actually dependent on users' role, like I mentioned. So because the Defender portal uses a role-based access control, different roles sees cards that are more meaningful to their day-to-day jobs. So like I told you, a global admin will be able to see everything. Why somebody that is maybe a security reader or just depending on the role, security administrator, will only see the cards that are actually important for their day-to-day job. And this at a glance, information helps you to keep you it helps you to keep up with the latest activities in your organization. And the Microsoft Defender portal brings together signals from different sources to present a holistic view of your Microsoft 365 environment. And the Defender portal combines both protection, it also combines detection, investigation, and responses to emails, collaborations, identity, devices, and app threats in a centralized space. So I mentioned the part of the email talks about for our Defender for Office 365. We're going to look at that in details. Why the part for identity, Defender for identity, and also the Azure Active Directory protection. Then for endpoint, Defender for endpoints, you'll be able to see based on the area that you want to actually, focus on. Now, this single pane that you're seeing, right, of glass, it brings together functionality from existing Microsoft security portal, like functionality from Microsoft Defender portal and security Office 365 security and compliance portal. Remember yesterday we went to look at more resources where we're able to see other admin centers here, and we opened them up. They're still open up here. Now, for each of those, now the Defender portal actually, as a single pane of glass, it brings together those functionality from different Microsoft security portals, like the Defender portal itself, the Office 365 security and compliance, which is going to be tapped by Microsoft, and the Defender portal does something. It emphasizes quick access to information. So it's very important. That's why this home page is very important, and all those cards are very important. You need to have a quick access to information. They need to design it in such a way that it has a simpler layout, right? It's very easy to know that, okay, what is this card talking about? Do I even need this card at all? SOC optimization, do I need it at all? If I don't need that card, I can move it downward. The card that is more important to me, I can move it upward. Maybe I'm actually investigating, let's say, insider risk management, for example. Now, I can decide that, oh, I don't want that to be there. Let me move this insider risk up. I don't want the SOC optimization to be here, So you'll be able to easily, do that, and you're able to arrange the cards just the way you want it. I don't know why this is hanging. Okay, it's refreshing. So why is refreshed? Now, I mentioned that the Microsoft Defender combines different Microsoft security portal together. Now, the first one, which is one we're going to look at, is the emails and collaboration. Now, the Microsoft Defender for Office 365, which is actually responsible for the emails and collaboration, helps organizations secure their enterprise with a set of prevention, detection, investigation, and hunting features to protect emails and Office 365 resources. So for these emails and collaboration here, the focus is to actually protect emails and every other Office 365 resources. Now, if I do something, for example, I did something recently here, I'm trying to remember it. Okay, policies and rule. Let me check this. Create policy. These are some of the things we look at. So I just want to play around, right? Anti-phishing, for example. Let me create one. So there's always defaults that is always on. Let me create a default first. Let me just call it test one. So it's not compulsory as description. Say next. You can leave it blank. Okay, at least one user. So let me put in one user here. Next, I want to show you something. Is it under this? Yeah, let me do this on the Microsoft Preview side. I wanted to show you how Microsoft streamline. So I'm not submitting it. Let me just cancel this. I want to show you how Microsoft streamline in such a way that everything under here, the focus is emails, SharePoint, Teams. So everything Microsoft is monitoring with this Defender for Office 365 is focused on that. Then if you come to endpoints here, the Microsoft Defender for endpoints delivers preventive protection and also a post-breach detection and automated investigation and response for devices in your organization. So preventive protection and also a post-breach detection, then automated investigation and response for devices. So the endpoint is focusing on devices majorly for you. Now, the next one, which is a Microsoft Defender XDR, so is actually a part of the Microsoft extended detection and response solution that uses the Microsoft 365 security portfolio to automatically analyze threat data across domains. And it also helps to build a kind of a picture of an attack on a single dashboard. Now, for the exposure management now, you'll be able to see an overview here that gives us what is currently happening in terms of exposure for the organization. So one of the capability is what Microsoft Defender XDR is doing. So it's able to give us things around attack service map, give us metric on what is currently happening in the organization, and also critical access summary. It does that as well for us. Now, the next one is the Microsoft. We're just doing an overview of each of them. The next one is Microsoft Defender for Cloud application. Now, the Microsoft Defender for Cloud application is actually a comprehensive cross SaaS and PaaS solution. SaaS is software as a service, and PaaS, which is platform as a service. So it's a comprehensive cross SaaS and PaaS solution, bringing deep visibility and strong data control and enhance threat protection to your cloud application. No, so one of the part here that is very important is the cloud discovery. Yeah. So the cloud discovery is one solution in the Microsoft Defender for apps that can help you to, gain continuous visibility over shadowed IT. It helps you to analyze your cloud apps usage. It helps you to dive into specific app users and even the IP address, and it notifies about new discovered application. So it used to be called cloud application security before, but it has been merged as a solution as part of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Now, the next one we have is the Microsoft Defender for Identity. Now, the Microsoft Defender for Identity is a cloud-based security solution that uses your on-premise Active Directory signals to identify, detect, and investigate advanced threats. So basically, it's either investigate those advanced threats, compromise identities, and also malicious insider actions directed at your organization. Now, with the Defender for Identity, this works with your on-premise AD. So when you have an Active Directory, a domain controller, for example, now you're going to install or call it's going to install something. So the what you're installing is going to actually get signals from those your Active Directory. We're going to have a lab on it, and once those signals are actually collected, it is the Microsoft Defender for Identity that you'll be able to use to, if you go to the dashboard, it's going to give you informations around the ITDR deployment, the health itself, tells you a lot of, so currently have a highly privileged identity in this organization, and also gives you secure scores, and it brings those signals for you to be able to analyze. If you come to the health issues here, you'll be able to, see if there's a global health issues. So what you are actually installing is all called sensor. So those sensors, when you install them on your Active Directory domain controller on your on-premise, so those sensors are the ones that will be, helping you to spool informations from those Active Directory, Active Directory is your on-premise identity solutions from Microsoft. So that's Defender for Identity. Now we have another one which was recently introduced by Microsoft. I think I saw it earlier. Let me collapse these. So it's actually vulnerability management, Microsoft Defender vulnerability management. I saw it somewhere. Probably it has been moved in. Okay, I'll check. Probably I don't have the right license, but I expect to actually have the right license. So the Microsoft Defender vulnerability management, what it does is that it delivers a continuous asset visibility, intelligence, risk-based assessments, and a built-in remediation tools to help your security and your IT teams prioritize and also address critical vulnerabilities and misconfigurations across your organization. Actually saw it somewhere, except it was renamed. I saw it a few weeks ago. Except if I need to, let me confirm, if I need to enable it somewhere. I'll check if I need to enable it, but it was part of this tab here. So Microsoft keeps making changes. It was part of this. I saw it in one of my tenants. Oh, 1 second, let me confirm. Let me confirm 1 second. I'm actually signing to another tenant. Let me confirm from there. Maybe that's where I saw it. Security. 1 second. I can't share the other screen because the other tenant is a production tenant. Yeah, but I just want to check to confirm. Maybe that's where I saw it. Thinking to say I saw it. All right, so I guess it has been removed. It's the same thing that I have here. I have on the other tenant. Although even the license here is actually higher. The license I have is actually higher. Okay, so the next one we have is Defender for IoT. Let me go into my Azure portal. So I wanted to show you something here earlier before around device compliance. Once device is not compliant, let me check Windows devices. So come to compliance here. I'm not sure I've configured anything compliance, but you're able to create compliance policy for your device. So Intune working alongside with your Defender for endpoints is able to, create some compliance stops here. Let me close this. I actually wanted to. So Defender for your IoT is actually on the Azure portal here, right? So for IoT devices, basically, it's called them operational technology, OT. So Defender for IoT involves the specialized hardware and software used to monitor and control physical processes in critical sectors, such as in manufacturing industry, in utility industries, in the pharmaceuticals industry, and more. So Defender for IoT is actually available within the Microsoft Defender portal, and which is actually on the Microsoft Azure side of things, right? It used to be there, and it's actually designed to. The work is to basically secure your OT environment. So any operational technologies that you have, the Defender for IoT, this is actually where you do all the configuration. And the last but not the least is the Microsoft Sentinel. So the Microsoft Sentinel integrates Microsoft Defender XDR. So I told you Microsoft Defender XDR is a combination of all of them: Defender for Identity, Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office 365. So it integrates Microsoft Defender XDR with Microsoft Sentinel to stream all Defender XDR incidents, right, and advanced hunting events into the Microsoft Sentinel. And you keep the incidents and the events synchronized between the Azure and also the Microsoft Defender portal. So that's what the Microsoft Sentinel does. And we can also see that from the Azure side of things, we are able to see that we have Microsoft Sentinel here. And if you go here as well, we'll see Microsoft Sentinel here as well, having being integrated to the Defender portal. You'll be able to see your workspaces, you'll be able to see your hunting, you'll be able to see your notebooks, and also the threat intelligence and the MITRE attack. Yeah. So other resources that actually works alongside with these Defender solutions are things around the Microsoft Purview. So if I come here and click on the compliance here, so this is going to actually open the Microsoft Purview compliance portal. What do we do here basically? So we mentioned insider risks earlier, right? So we see the insider risk management here under the Microsoft Purview here. So the Microsoft Purview compliance portal, what it does is that it manages your compliance needs across Microsoft 365 services using integrated solutions for information governance, classifications, case management, and more. So what this does, it does a lot of things around your data security majorly, because at the end of the day, you want to ensure that, let's say you are in an industry, in a financial industry that needs to actually be compliant with or with PCI, PCI DSS, right? So all those compliance, all those regulatory compliance, GDPR. Recently, I don't know if you heard of the news when Fidelity Bank was fined some millions Neras for GDPR and NDPR breach, for example. Now, so the Microsoft Preview Portal it helps you with your compliance need, basically. And there's also another portal which we called the Microsoft Entra ID. So the Microsoft Entra ID, you can actually access it either from the Microsoft 365 side or from the Microsoft from the Azure portal side of things. So what does Microsoft Entra ID does? The Microsoft Entra ID portals manage your organization's identities. So you can either synchronize it, right? So if you have an on-prem Active Directory, you can synchronize the Microsoft you can synchronize your identity from the AD to the Microsoft Entra ID using a tool called the Microsoft Entra ID Connect. It used to be called the Azure AD Connect. So you here also you can set up things around multi-factor authentication for protection. You can also track user signings. So under protection, you'll be able to see things that you can do talking about authentication method. You can see things around password resets, their risky activities. You're able to see it, even down to identity scores. You'll be able to see it. So you're able to see things under the identity scores and things around them. If you want to check reports on risky users, risky signings, and all that, you know, these are already telling me that this user is at risk as at July. So it gives you data around risky users, gives you around data about risky signings and all that. So based on the what you've configured, it's able to help you with this data. Another thing you can do here, it can also help you edit your company branding and more. So if you need to, maybe you want to edit your organization branding and stuffs like that, I think it should be under settings. Let me be sure. Somewhere around here. Let me see overview. So anything you don't remember where the thing is, you always have the search to search for where the stuff is. So you can actually customize your signing experience for your organization, what you want users to see. Maybe you want to input your logos and all that. Microsoft Entra ID can help you do that. Now, there is another one called the Microsoft Entra ID protection as well. Um, Let me close some of these so I can pull up this. So let me type Microsoft Entra ID protection. Or let me just type protection. Let me see if it's going to bring that for me. So another solution is a Microsoft Entra ID protection. What is Microsoft Entra ID protection? So this basically detects potential vulnerabilities that is affecting your organization's identities. It investigates suspicious incidents related to your organization's identity, and it helps you to set up automated responses to resolve them. So these work alongside. So since we're talking about security generally, if you remember from our presentation earlier, we talked about Defender for Identity working alongside with Microsoft Entra ID protection. So this is the Microsoft Entra ID protection part of things that is working alongside with the Defender for Identity to help protect or detect potential vulnerabilities that are affecting the identities in our organization. And it also helps to set up responses to resolve them. Yeah, there is two more. One of them is Azure Information Protection. Azure Information Protection. Let me see if it is still here. But I believe Microsoft must have retired it anyway. But let me see. Azure Information Protection. Okay. So the Azure Information Protection, what it does is that you can use this to configure and manage the Azure Information Protection clients and scanner to automatically classify and protect your organization's email and documents. So you can use reports to monitor, label usage and also identify sensitive info that should be protected. Now, if you remember, when we talk about the Microsoft compliance here, there is what we call labels under information protection. So labels are, let me just give you a practical example. In my organization today, we have documents or data. It could be Excel sheet with PowerPoint that are classified internal. Some are classified confidential. Some are classified highly confidential, while some are classified, public. Now, what Azure Information Protection does is that it works alongside to help you to scan. So based on the classification, all the labels you've created, right? Based on their classification, right? What it does is that it helps you to analyze, use reports to monitor how are users using this label? Are they using the correct labels? And it helps you to also identify the sensitive info that should be protected. So if there are sensitive information like PIN that contains PII or BAN, right? All those information that are very sensitive. So you can use the sensitivity label alongside with the Azure Information Protection to ensure that those sensitive informations are protected. The last one, you have to go back to the Azure portal, is Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So Microsoft Defender for Cloud apps and Microsoft Defender for Cloud are actually two different things. Now, where Microsoft Defender for Cloud apps talk about being a comprehensive cross SaaS or PaaS solution, bringing deep visibility, strong data control, and enhanced trend protection to your cloud application. What Microsoft Defender for Cloud does, on the other hand, let's check it. Defender for Cloud. So see Defender for Cloud here. What Microsoft Defender for Cloud does, on the other hand, is that it protects your data centers and gets advanced threat protection for your Azure and your non-Azure workload in the cloud and on premises. So it secures your Azure services faster with auto provisioned and native protection. So the moment you have this Microsoft Defender for Cloud deploy in your organization, the focus is your data center. So your data center has virtual machines, has Hyper-V environment, right? So with the Defender for Cloud, it's protecting your data center, and it also helps to get advanced threat protection for your Azure, which is the cloud. So if you're running an hybrid environment and even a multi-cloud environment, maybe it involves using other cloud solutions like the AWS or GCP, the Microsoft Defender for Cloud is there to help secure your Azure services fast with auto provisioning, right? So and native protection. So these are some of the things we'll be actually be looking at. The class is demo, right? It's going to be a lot of demo in the class because to be able to get our hands dirty on some of these protection. Now there is something called Microsoft Defender for Business. So the Microsoft Defender for Business is basically a licensing model, especially for small and medium-sized business, people that are up to 300 employees. So in Microsoft side, they classify when organization has 300 or less employees, they are classified as small, medium-sized businesses. And for such organizations, you don't need to start purchasing the enterprise application licenses like the Office 365 E1, E3, or E5, or the Microsoft 365 E3 or E5. You can just use the uh, um, business Business Basic. If you just want just your emails and some basic stuff from Microsoft 365, Business Standard, if you need to use those basic stuff, and also install the Office applications and be able to activate them locally. Then the Business Premium, which has some of these Defender capabilities. So in terms of small to medium business, Microsoft 365 Business Premium is actually a license that you can use to get some of these capabilities and more. Now, you might find the Microsoft Defender Portal content, right? Basically, it contains Defender for business, and therefore, anything that applies to anything we've discussed so far on the security and compliance side of things is also applicable to them. Do you have any questions so far?
No, I'm quite following. Yeah, but
I'm sorry, I didn't get
I'm
you.
still going to, yeah. I said I'm still going to go back to the video and rewatch it again and before
Oh, okay.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, all right. No worries. Let's see if you have okay. We'll discuss this extensively. And another thing I wanted to mention is things around required roles and permission. I know that for this class, you're going to be setting up your tenants and you automatically be a super admin or a global admin. But it's very important if you're like working in an organization and as a super admin, you have some junior security engineers or SOC analysts working for you. What are some of the roles that you might want to take, cognizance of? Now, basically, some roles are required for Microsoft Defender XDR. Some roles are required for Microsoft Defender for endpoints. Some roles are also required for Defender for Office 365, as well as the Defender for cloud applications. So majorly, if you look at the Defender for cloud application part, that speaks to roles with global admin, with security administrator, either with compliance administrator, or even security operator, as well as security reader. If you go here, let me just select a user. Let me select a user to use for this demo purpose. Let me pick this user as an example. Now for this user now, at the moment, if you check, this user has been assigned a global administrator role. Now with the global administrator role, the user will be able to do a lot of things, as a super user. However, by following the principle of least privileged access, I can say no, I don't want to give this user a global administrator role. I want this user to have a lesser role. Now, Microsoft makes it easier in such a way that um, Microsoft classify, apart from these roles that are, you know, that are there based on a specific task, like the global administrator, which is super admin, the exchange administrator, which is basically responsible for the messaging and emails for the organization. Now, the global reader is like a global admin, but without an edit functionality, just a view only. Everything global admin can see, a global reader can see, but the global reader cannot do any change at all. It cannot do any change. It can view all administrative features and settings in all the admin center. So if you need somebody to just have a view, somebody to just view what is happening in terms of settings, right? You just focus on that. So apart from this, Microsoft makes it easier to classify each admin. So we have, if you are sharing by category, we have some administrators that are responsible for collaboration. So any application that involves collaboration, you will see those users there, the ones that are responsible for devices. So any users that maybe their job descriptions or their job functions requires them to focus on devices such as printer or Windows 365 or cloud devices, for example. Now, so you just select that particular role following the principle of least privilege. Then the global administrator, which is standalone because it's global. Then for some users that just require certain things around managing identities, in the organization, so you'll be able to come here based on what the user needs to be doing or what the users need to do. You assign this. Now, one of the things I discovered recently about this role under identity is that ordinarily it is only a global administrator that can reset a password for another global administrator. Now we'll find out that this guy, privileged authenticator administrator, can reset password, you know, for even a global administrator. So this is one rule that you have to be very, very careful assigning to users in organization. This privileged authenticator administrator. Then there are others based on the classification. Microsoft could not, do things. So others, things, people that manage billing side of things, people that manage migrations, organization branding administrators, then things around Viva Pulse administrator. Then these roles are read-only roles, yeah? So we have a security administrator. The opposite of security administrator is a security reader that can do everything, right? That security administrator can do, but just viewing those administrative privileges to tell you that it has a read access to security features like signing reports, audit logs, and all that. Then if you come down a bit, you see some other rules around security and compliance. So like this security administrator now controls organization security, manages security policies, and also review security analytics and reports. So based on what the user needs to do, so it has to be what the license that you need to the role rather that you need to assign to the user. So that role-based access is actually something that is also very important, right? That we have to basically take note of. Any questions so far?
No, I've not actually seen the role administration on the Microsoft 365 Defender before. I used to think all the role assignments is done on Azure. I'm actually just seeing this for the first time.
Okay, yeah. So this is actually on the, sorry, let me cancel this. Okay, I didn't make changes. Leave. I want to leave that saving. So I remove that. So this is actually on Microsoft 365 side, not on the Defender portal. Is Microsoft 365 portal itself, where we manage the user, right? This is where we manage the user. Then if you go to the Azure side, um, let me this Azure. So for Entra ID as well, you see roles and administration here. So where we have the roles and admin, you have the administrative units, then you have the delegated admin partners, depending. Now, if you click on the roles and admin, so for Azure, but we call it actually Entra ID because Entra ID is still, if you go to the Azure, it's still the Microsoft Entra ID that you will be able to see all those roles, right? You will see your own role that you're currently signing. Then it gives you these the privilege rules assignment that you currently have. Then you're able to see granular. So for here, it is more detailed. It is more granular compared to Microsoft 365 side here. It is more granular, basically. So the Azure, if there are things I need to assign, there are rules I need to assign, for here, I can see in terms of functionalities of the user, there are more rules actually available here as compared to the other side. And some of the roles majorly are built in. And another thing is that here you can even create a custom role. Maybe the users need to, manage things around compliance, manage things in billing, manage things even in Dynamics 365. You can create a custom role here. That is one advantage of the Microsoft Entra ID side of things. But for here, you cannot create. It's only the role that is made available for you. Here is just to assign the role. Here is just to assign the role. You're not doing anything apart from assigning the role basically for this one. So that's the difference between the two.
Thank you for the clarification.
You have any other question?
None for now.
All right. Let me share something with you. It's a guided lab environments that you can go through just to play around while you set up your own environment. All right. So we'll be stopping there for today. So we'll pick up again on Friday. We'll meet